We have a dynamic list of widgets that is being rendered from an initial state provided by a Redux reducer. Right? So we'd like to be able to add an additional widget, any number of widgets. Perhaps we'll add a button at the bottom, right? If we click on it, right, it adds a new widget. Right? So before we do that, probably what we should do is that instead of having this li embedded in there, that should in itself its own component, right? So let's do that. Let's add an additional component here. Say const widget. There'll be a widget here, right? That takes as argument a widget object, right? And it returns an li. Right, this information right here, right? So let's grab that. It returns right that, right? So it takes as argument the widget. Somebody's passing it the widget, and it just returns the li. So now we can replace this over here with widget. Right, so this will be widget. We don't need. We can close this here. We don't need this here, right? So it'll be like that, and we're passing the key. Right here, so we don't need that right here, right? And if we re-render this, it complains. Oh, thank you. Yes, right. So this will be widget equal, and then curly bracket widget. I knew that. All right. So we have the original rendering of the list, right, with the individual widget. So what I'd like to be able to do here is that maybe at the end of this list, perhaps we can add a button, right? That if we click on that button, it adds a brand new widget to that, right? So for instance, we can have a button here, add widget. So it'll render at the bottom, and that whenever we click on that, this might be something like on click. This will take an argument that we can dispatch the fact that we want to add a new widget, right? So this could be a dispatcher, dispatch, right? And dispatch an action whose type is add widget, right? And the dispatcher can be passed in as an argument here, right? Again, this might be better if it's an action, right, outside. Yes, but I'll have you do that for the assignment. Okay. Right. So that means that this is going to be when we click on this dispatch, is going to be sent over to to our reducer, and the reducer is going to have to take the initial state and then append to the end a new object representing the new widget. Okay. So here in the reducer, notice that the reducer is always now returning the same initial state. It's not interpreting any state, any previous state, or any new action. So let's change that. Let's change this to be a state. So it takes the original previous state plus a new action. And now we can move this initial state and just make the state have a default initial state, right? And then return here based on the switch. Right, we're going to do a switch on the action, so action type. The type is, what is it? Add widget, right? If it's add widget, it's going to append a new object at the end. Otherwise, if it's not, then it's just going to return the default state. All right, so it's going to return state. Okay? So if it's add widget, what are we going to do? First of all, let's see if indeed we're hitting this, right? So we'll do an alert, and it says add widget, adding a widget. And for now, we're just going to return the state, just so that we're not doing really anything. We're just echoing. Right? So let's do add. Notice that we are hitting that line, right? So what are we going to do? Let's see. What we need to do is return a new array, right? A brand new array that contains the old elements plus an additional one at the end. Okay? Now it would be very, very cumbersome having to iterate over the array, right, and copy all the old objects onto a brand new array. It's a painful. The new JavaScript has syntactic sugar for that as well, right? So you don't have to iterate over it because it's such a common use case that now the language provides syntactic sugar for that. So what we can do is that we can return a new object, a brand new object, whose widgets is going to be an array. It's going to be an array of which the last element will be a brand new object with a brand new widget. Yes? But the previous ones have to be from the previous state, from the previous list of widgets. Yes? So you can do that right here. You can use a new operator called the spread operator, right, that can take as an argument an object or an array, right, and it just takes those values and copies them over. Right? So we can say that the first couple of elements is just going to be the original state.widgets. Right? The first set of objects is going to be the old list of widgets. Plus, we're going to add a new object at the end. Right? So it's going to have a new ID. Right? We need to figure out that we need to increment some ID. Right? Because we have 0, we have 1, we have 2. The next one would have to be 3. Right? We could look at the last element in the original array and just increment by 1, but that would not guarantee uniqueness, right? Let's see that for a second, right? And as text, well, right now we have no place to get the text from. Ideally, it would be maybe an input field or something, right? But we don't have that either. So right now we're just going to say new widget, okay? So with this ID, where do we get this ID? So what we could do is just declare some ID counter, and your ID auto increment that starts at 2, say, right? Starts at wherever we want it to be, perhaps from having read this, how many elements there were originally, and this can just be the increment plus 1, right? Ideally, we would do this in the database, right? We would send over to the server. The server would calculate a new ID, and then we would get that ID. Yes. Oh, we could do that. Yes. Yep. Yeah, that'd be a good idea. But this allows me to introduce a new concept. Right. So here we can use a counter that. Notice that this is not global, right? It's within this within this module, right? All right. So let's see what we broke. So let's do an add widget, and it went to adding a widget, and notice that it adds a new widget. Encountered 2 children with the same key. I think we started. This might have been 3. This should be 3. Let's try it again. Widget. There we go. New widget. Right. It's adding those new widgets, and we can just add any number. And let's remove that alert. We know we're going in there, and when we're rendering it, just so we know we're in the right place, right? We can just render here widget.id. There it is, right? So if we add new ones, it's being added. All right, make sense? All right, awesome. Let's now look at being able to remove things from the list. All right, let's do that.